Hey guys, this is Naveen here. Welcome back to Naveen Automation Lab. So in this video, in the Playwright API automation, we are going to do a post call with the Pozo class. Pozo means the plain old Java objects. What we have seen so far that we were calling the post call and we were creating the hash map, and then the hash map object actually we were passing in the set data, right, to create the body and everything. Same thing with the JSON string also we have seen that, but this approach is not that good. Why? Because if tomorrow you have more attribute and dynamic JSON data that you really want to use right now, because we have only 4 attributes here in this JSON, but what if tomorrow I have 10, 15, 20? Then in that case, it looks quite lengthy in your code and unnecessary static JSON that you are writing here. Same thing with the JSON file also, that you have to read the JSON file and then you have to maintain number of user.json or n number of JSON files that you have to maintain here. So these approaches are good, but not the best. So we are going to talk about with the Pozo classes. So Pozo is just simple, a normal Java class, which is having a constructor, which is having some getter and setters, and the private class variables, we are going to define that. So what is the idea here? The idea here is that if you understand the concept of serialization and the deserialization. For example, let's see, this is my Pozo class. This is my Java class. For example, let's see, I'm going to create user.java here. In this particular user.java, I'm going to create, let's see, some variables. For example, let's see, what will be the user ID? What will be the name of this particular user? What will be the email? And let's see, what will be the address or status, whatever, right, that you are going to define. So these are the private variables that I'm going to write here. These are the private variables. And along with that, I'm going to create my one constructor so that we can just initialize these variables. And then I'm going to create some public getter and setter methods also for all the private variables. So we are going to use one encapsulation concept here. And this user.java class will be your Pozo class, right? So this is a Pozo class. Pozo means the plain old, I'll write it for you, plain old Java object. So this is a full meaning or full form of Pozo class. Now, this is my Playwright code that I'm going to write. This is the post call that we always write here, that request context dot post and then set data method. Now this class is available in the form of Java. So this set data method, what exactly we are going to do in my Playwright code, this is, let's see, a set a data method. And this is saying you have to supply what? You have to supply the Pozo class. You can directly supply it here. So this is the good thing, that we can directly supply this Pozo object here. And then we will send the request. What kind of request it is? So let's see, we're sending the request along with the post call, whatever the URL or any authentication or any kind of header that you are using, along with the body that we have supplied over here with the help of Pozo. And then we will send the request to the server, and then we are getting the response. So for example, let's say this is your web server or app server, where exactly we are sending this particular post call, and then with this particular client, and then we are sending it, we are getting the response, and then we will get the response in the form of what? So let's see, we are getting the response. It could be a text response also. It could be, let's see, a JSON response also, we can get it. Now, another advantage is that whatever the JSON response that you are getting, we will convert that JSON object back to the Pozo. So that we have to do JSON to what? JSON to Pozo conversion, we have to do this. And this is called deserialization. Okay, this is called deserialization, where whatever the JSON object or XML object that you are getting from the response, convert that into Pozo. This is called deserialization. Then what is serialization? Serialization is called when you convert your whatever the Pozo is there, Pozo class is there, you are converting that into a JSON. This is called serialization. So do we need serialization in Playwright? No, we don't need that in Playwright, because in Playwright, set data method will directly take your Pozo class here. So you don't need to create the Pozo class object, you just need to supply it. You don't need to create any serialization like Pozo to JSON conversion. This is inbuilt. But same thing, if you do in rest assured, you have to do your serialization. You have to do it mandatory. Because in Playwright, it will not take the Pozo class object directly. This is the advantage that you are getting in the Playwright. I'll show you practically. I'll show you one example with the rest assured as well. Now, what is the advantage of deserialization? So whatever the JSON response we are getting in the form of response, the deserialization we got it. So for example, let's see for the same user, after deserialization, I'll say that is, this is my response user, for example, response user object of which class? Of the user class that we have captured, for example. And let's see one POSO object that we have already created. This is my user class. User is equal to a new user here. And then we have initialize this particular value like ID, name, email, and status, everything that we have initialized here. So this is what? This is your data that you supplied here, the same user that we have supplied here, this particular user. And with this user, we have sent the request to the server. We got the response, and whatever the response, JSON response, converting into the POSO conversion. So we have two types of objects now. Let's see, this is my user object that I have created here. Let's see, this is my user object. And this is another response user object that I have created. This is your actual user that we have captured. Now, what is the advantage of this? So let's see, this object is referred by this particular user, and this object is referred by response user. And this also first user that we have created, let's see your ID name, whatever. Let's see ID is, ID is 123. Username is Tom. Email ID is something Tom at the rate gmail.com. And let's see, I'm writing the status also, right? So here I'm writing the status, which is active or non-active or whatever. So let's see, I'm saying this user is active. So this is the actual data that, this is the expected data, or we were trying to create the user with this particular data. And whatever the response that we have captured, store it in the response user. And whatever the data, this is coming from the server after creating the data. So let's see exactly same data that we are getting it here. For example, that your user ID is 123, name is Tom, or Tom at the rate gmail.com, and the user is active. So what is happening here that I have two types of user. Two types of user objects. One is this and one is this. I can simply use these getter and setter methods, and I can simply say, okay, user.getName, and I can check with response user.getName, and I can compare. So it will really, really helpful for me for the comparison, for writing the assertions and everything. You can compare two objects with the comparators also in Java, or you can directly use the getter and setter. So how will you do that? For example, let's see, this is what I'm going to write, that user dot, let's see, for example, get name. It should be equal to what? The response user dot get name. So this is what get name method, the getter, I'm going to use it here. So for writing the assertions. So same thing, we can write multiple assertions here like this for other attributes also. Let's see, for example, get email or get status from user one. For user.get email, and the response user.get email, we can write it, right? Because now we have, because it will be easy for us to do the comparison between the objects instead of writing the JSON and all those things. So that's what the deserialization will be really helpful. So let's do this. So this is the basic architecture along with the deserialization, converting the JSON to POSO conversion, and then how to supply the POSO object. Now let's write the same code in Playwright, right? So what exactly I'm going to do that? First of all, that let's create a new Java class. And this Java class will be my user class. This will be my user POSO class. So for example, user.java or users.java. And then I'm going to create, okay, yeah, what kind of response that you are expecting from this particular user object. So we have to define a template for the user. Like for example, when we hit the user, right? Let's see in the Postman, and when I try to create the user with this 4 attributes. So along with these 4 attributes, see, I'm getting a response with the ID also. So whenever you create the Java object or POSO object, you always consider that in the response, what exactly you are getting. So in the response, we are getting this information. So for example, 5 attributes that I'm going to define here, okay, in my POSO class. And then these attributes should be defined with the private, because I don't want to give the direct access outside of this class. So, and I want to use encapsulation also. So I just want to encapsulate my user data or user fields or user variables. And then with the help of public getter and setter, we will expose them. So let's see, I'm writing private, and then this is my string ID, for example. See this is a string ID and all those things, that whatever we are getting. And let's see, this is my private, once again, string name that we are getting. You can see name, email, gender, status. So let's write uh, private string name, email, and then private string user is active or not. And we have one more private string, let's see, status, that we have already taken. I think instead of active, we have to write a status. And other than that, gender is also there. Okay. So these are the, let's see, 4 class variables that we have declared. Now I'll do one thing. I'm going to create one constructor also. So what you do, right click and then simple generate the constructor, click on generate, and then you can generate a constructor from here. So let's generate the constructor for all the fields. And then let's select all the fields from here and click on OK. So one constructor got created here. You can see that. Okay. And this constructor will be public in nature. Why? Because when we create the object of this user, right, the expected object that we create, that time we will supply the data here. Don't hard code the data here. Then I'm going to use what? I'm going to use one more getter and setter also. We are going to use it. So let's create a getter and setter together. So for all the fields that we are going to use it, select everything together and click on OK. So here you can see that for every field, we have a getter and setter. You can see set ID, get name, set name, email, gender, and everything. And then I'll do one thing. I'll just write the equivalent toString method also. So I'm going to write one toString method also. We can just do one thing. Let's override from the object class. So let's click on OK. ToString method, when we try to print the object of the user class, it will print in this particular format instead of giving me the memory address. So let's use this particular ToString method. It's coming from the object class, right? So that's why it's written with the @override. It's always a good practice to override the ToString method. Now this is the Pozo class is available, right? Okay. Now I'll do one thing. I'm going to create a test class. So let's click on it, right click on it. Let's create a Java class. And the Java class that I'm going to write, let's see, this is my, once again, create user, a post call with Pozo test. Okay, let's create a class. And see one thing, user class, you can move it to some other package also. Under SRC main Java, we can move it because this is nothing related to your test, right? We don't have any test over here. So I'll do one thing under this Java org example. I'll do one thing. Let me just delete this particular package. I'll do one thing. I'm going to create my own package under SRC main Java because this is not my test class. So let's create a package here. So let's create a package, and the package name, I'm going to write that com dot let's see, API dot data, something like this. And under that, I'm just going to move this particular file. So let's move this file from here to here. Okay, so yeah, refactor it, and now it's available under user class. Perfect. Because it's always a good practice. You move your Pozo classes under SRC main Java. Now come back here. What exactly I'm going to do? I'm going to write my playwright script. So let's first of all copy this thing from here. Most of the things are okay, same. So by before method, after method, and all those things will remain same. So I'll just take it from let's see, here to here. Copy this and we will update the code accordingly. So just paste it here. Okay. Now let's see what are the things we can change. So before method will remain same. After method will remain same. You just need to tear down it. Get email also, let it be same. Now the JSON string, we are not going to use it. So just simple remove it from here. Save it. What should I do? I have this particular user.java class. So let me write the code. So user is equal to a user. This is the object that we have to create, and user, this we have to import right from the different package. So let me import from the API.data, right? So this is imported. But now when you import this, we have to supply the constructor, like we have to supply the constructor data also. So let's use it. And it's saying that, first of all, you have to supply name, email, gender, and everything. So let's supply that. So let's see, I'm passing, the name is Naveen, and then I'm writing what exactly we want. The second variable is email, gender. So let's say I'm writing my email ID is naveen@gmail.com. And then I'm writing gender is as male, and then user is, let's see, active. Something like this that we have to pass. Perfect. So user object got created. We will take care about the email in some time, but let's see, is it really working or not with this thing. Now, this is the user object. As I told you that we don't need to have convert that user into JSON. We don't need any serialization concept here in Playwright. You can just directly supply the user from here to here. That's it. And it will do the magic for you. Same thing, same URL, application JSON, your bearer token, and then set data status. We are expecting 201. User is created or not. And then the response data that we are capturing here, API response.text. So I'll do one thing, this API response.text, I'm going to store it in some string. So let's see, this is what I'm writing. This is my response text is equal to this. Okay. And whatever the response text that we are getting, we are just going to print it on the console as well. So let's see system.out.println, whatever the response text, this is I'm printing. So I'll do one thing, this object mapper and then calling the get call response and everything, I'm just going to delete it over here because this is simple post call that we are doing. And in the post call response, we are getting this response. And we really want to verify the response we are getting having the correct values or not. Okay. So this is a response text that we have captured. Now, what we have to do here is from this response text, what exactly I'm going to do that. See this carefully, this convert the response, whatever the response that you're getting, maybe in the form of text or JSON, to what? To POSO we have to do. It means we have to do the deserialization we have to perform here. How we'll do the deserialization? Deserialization, we have to use it with the object mapper class. So we have to create the object mapper class object. So let's create that once again. This object mapper is equal to a new object mapper object we have to create. And with the help of this object mapper dot, there is one method, read value method is available. Read value method says whatever the response that you have captured, let's see this response text that you have captured, and then you want to convert to which POSO. So what is the respective POSO object is available? The POSO class is available. So I'm going to write, this is my user dot class. And that's it. So this read value method will return what? Now, read value method will give you the user class object. So I'm going to store it in my user. And I'm saying, let's say this is my actual user, okay, equal to this. Exactly same thing that we have done here as well when we designing the things. So that's what the response user we have captured. Now in the response user, whatever the text or JSON that you have captured will be stored in this particular response user object. And the actual initial expected user we have already created by calling the constructor, this one, right? So how many user objects we have now? We have two user object. This is the user one, first one, and this is the actual user object reference. You can see that this is constructor will create the object. So one object will be created. And this is a second object with the help of a deserialization. We have done it over here. So JSON to POSO conversion, we have done it. Now, from this particular actual user, let's see that the data is really there or not. So I'm just simple writing, let's see one S out just to check that actual user dot give me the, see, I can call all the getters and setters. Give me the email ID. Let's see what is the email ID it's printing. Although I'm passing, let's see, naveen123gmail.com. It's the same email ID, it should give it to me. So let's run it and let's see. Okay, so setup method is getting called. And then after that, oops, it's giving you some error. Let's see. So it's saying that cannot constructor of this, cannot deserialize from the object, no object delegation property based creator. Okay, we will see this error, but user got created, invalid definition exception. Okay, no creators like default constructor exists. So, okay, what we have to do, we have to create one default constructor also. So let's create one normal default constructor as well. So let's see public user, and that's it. Okay. Now again, come back here. Let's try to create one more user. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Email ID I'm just changing and then supplying the data once again. Now this time absolutely working fine. And you can see that the last statement that we were printing, that actual user dot get email, it means from the response user, get email is this one. Perfect. So now it will be super easy for us to write the assertion. So how will you write the assertion? I'm writing that assert dot assert equals what is your actual value. I mean, what exactly your, see this carefully. Assert equals method says that give me the actual value. So this is from the actual user. And I'm saying that actual user dot fetch the name. And then it should be equal to what? The expected user that first time that we created this particular user, right? And I'm writing here from this user also, you just fetch the what get name here. If both are matched, then your test is pass. So this is from the response and this is from the beginning that we have created. So just like that, now I can write some more assertions. Let's see, instead of get name, I'm writing get email. And then I can write that assert dot, let's see, not assert dot not null. And whatever the actual response that we have captured, there's actual user dot. Let's write the get ID also. It should not be null. Okay, it should not be null because when we created the user first time, right, that time we were not passing the ID. ID will be created by the at the server side, from the server side. Okay, so we are not creating any ID. We are just supplying the data from our side. We are supplying only 4 data. So that's what we are comparing with the assert equals, and we're just checking that what if the ID that you have captured is the right ID or not. It should not be null, right? So let's see this is working or not. So I'll do one thing. I'm passing, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a new email ID, and let's see all the assertions are getting passed or not. Okay, so test again got started. And create user, it's absolutely working fine. All the assertions are absolutely good. Now the only thing is we just need to take care about this email ID. So for email ID, this get random email ID method is already created. So I'll do one thing that in this user object, first of all, I'm not going to supply the hard-coded email ID. Remove it. So what we can do here is get email ID. We can call it from here, right? Like this, comma here, like that. That's it. Because in the constructor, whatever the get random email ID is coming, we can just simply supply that and then we are passing it here, right? And that's it. Will this work? Let's see. So I'm not using any hard-coded email ID. Every time it should work fine. So setup method is done and create user is done. And this time, let's see what kind of email it picked. See this one. If you really want to check that with the get call in the Postman, you can check it here. That let's see, this is my get call. Supply the user ID and then send it. See, exactly same user we have captured here. This is so good. And this is better to maintain the code using the proper POSO object, no hard-coded value. Yes, definitely we can supply Naveen mail active also, maybe some other external source, like maybe we can maintain some rows and column Excel data or whatever. But this is my always the static data, right? The username could be anything, or gender or male or active or could be anything, right? Main problem with the email ID that we are supplying dynamically, we are creating a new random email ID and every time we are supplying it here, right? And then once the user is created, we just want to make sure that all the data that we are getting is correct or not. So we're comparing object to object, right? Because comparison in Java will happen on the basis of what? Object to object comparison. So that's why this expected object we have already created first time with the help of constructor. And that's what we have to create one response object also. But in the response, server will never give you, okay, take this POSO. Server will not return you the POSO object. Server will be sending maybe text or JSON object or whatever the JSON that you are getting. You're getting in the form of some string format or text format that we have to convert into POSO conversion so that that can be matched like this, like this. With the help of getters, we can use it here. Perfect. So that we can easily do it. After that, if you really want to write your a get call also that we have written last time that capture the ID from the post, and then you just continue those things also, you can write it here. So that part you can just use it later, right? So this is how we do it. But now there are other optimization we can do it. Like we can optimize the code at the user.java level. So that I'll show you in the next chapter, that how to use Lombok and everything. That also we can see, we can implement that, right? One thing here, that whenever you are getting it's always, let's see, a good practice if you really want to print, let's see that whatever the actual user that we have captured, right? I'm just going to print this entire user. So let's print it out as out. And then I'm writing user that got created, right? Actual user from the response. So this is what, let's say, I really want to print on the console. So how will you print it? So simple, once again, write s out and then print it here. Let's see this actual user is coming in which format. So this actual user, you can print it, the object reference, you can print it directly because we have used one toString method here, right? So let's quickly run it. Nice. So here you can see create user test, and here in the console, see it will come in this particular format. So actual user from the response, we are getting it here like this. This is a POSO object, we are printing it. It should be matched with your the first object that you have created. It should be matched with this, right? If both are matching, then it's absolutely good to go with that, right? So advantage here with the POSO class is that for every attribute level or every class field level, we can do the assertions. It will be easy to maintain. You don't need to maintain any hard-coded JSON string or hard unnecessary user.json. You don't need to maintain that. And it will behave like a template for me. And then I can supply any name, any data I can supply to here. And then I can use it for the validation purpose also. Perfect. So this is the main advantage of the POSO using in your framework or in your post API calls. We will take more and more sessions like on delete call also, put call also. Then we will start taking the advantage of setters as well. Setters will help me to update the data in the put on patch. That also we will see in upcoming chapters. So that's all for today. I hope you liked it, you got it, you understood it. Write the code by your own. Let me know in case of any issues. I'll merge this code in my master branch also of this repository. And then you can just get the repository URL in the description or in the first comment section of this video. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care and God bless you all.